Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Have a fascinating video for you today. We're going to be talking about sharpening choils and a little bit about the history about them, and then also the biggest thing is the controversy involved in them. So this is a very controversial topic in knives today. So you got the pro guys who think you have to have a sharpening choil, and then you have the con guys who don't think they should even be on a knife. They're a relic from the past. And I kind of don't have a dog in this fight, so that's not one of the criteria I look at when I buy a knife. I like sharpening choils on my knife, but I got knives that don't have them. So if you'd like to hear more about this issue, go ahead and check out the video.
You sent me a smoochy picture?
Mm-hmm. Why are you laughing at me?
Because he's so funny looking.
All right, welcome back to the Fortified Castle. As hi to all my viewers, bonjour, privet, guten tag, hola, and ciao to my foreign viewers. And so we're going to be talking about sharpening choils in depth, in detail. Fascinating stuff that's coming up here, guys. I guarantee you. I'm really excited about it. But before I do that, yesterday was Christmas, and so I wanted to show off some of my Christmas toys. And my wife got me this really cool steer skull, and she knows I like to use these things as props, and so that was very kind of her to get me. And then she got me this really nice Baron Sun. It's a backlock, smooth white bone, in Damascus. So this is actually a pretty nice knife. We're not going to review it here, but I don't know. You like that? You like the white bone with the Damascus? Yeah, I do. I think it looks pretty good. And then the other thing she got me was this razor. Hard to see, but it says TH Barber Supply. Really old case here. And when you open it up, check this out, guys. Ooh, wow, ooh, ah. Really cool scales on this. Boker's brand. Old knife, probably dates to the 1920s or maybe earlier. It is a H. Boker and Company. Beautiful shape. Look at that. Just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful shape. So these will be reviews for later. And we got a lot of information to cover. So we're going to get to it. All right, before we get into whether you really need to have a sharpening choil or not, let's define it. Let's talk about the sharpening choil. And so when you look at this knife right here, let's get her snapped in for you. There you go. Come on. This little notch, oh, goodness gracious. This little notch right here is the sharpening choil. And it's just a little notch cut into the edge of the knife blade. And it primarily facilitates sharpening of the blade, but secondarily, it protects the knife. So this choil you're going to sharpen right here along this line. And so it's going to protect your ricasso from getting all beat up. It'll protect your bolster and your handle material. But more importantly, on traditional knife, it's going to protect this area right here. And so this is a kick. And this is really important on a traditional knife. This is what keeps your edge from slapping into the back of the back spring. So the kick is used to keep your edge away from the back of the back spring and keep it from dulling. on your knife. So I want to just briefly go over some other um, nomenclature here. Man, this is okay. Sorry about that. I needed to cover all that stuff up so we could look at this close. So as you look at your blade, the back here, this is the spine, the back or the spine of the blade. When you look at this, this is pretty much what the stock of the blade looks like right here. There's a little bit taken off of each side, but this is pretty much what the stock looked like. And then the manufacturer has to take out material here to create an edge from this back stock. This area right here is called the, okay, come on, why is this not focusing? This edge right here is the primary bevel. And then when you get down to the edge, it is possible to create an edge with a primary bevel, but most manufacturers use a secondary bevel, and that's what this is right here. Secondary bevel right there. That creates your edge. When you do that, when you're taking this material away right here, what you're left with is the primary stock right here, and we call this area that's not sharpened the ricasso. This is the plunge grind right here, or just simply the plunge, where your grind is going down to the edge of the blade. It creates this little line. And this, of course, is a point. This is the front of your blade. From about right here down to here is called the belly of the blade. Doesn't matter whether it's straight or whether it's bent, it's the belly of the blade. That's what we call it. That's where most of the work is done on a knife. And this little area back here is called the heel. And this little area is what causes all the controversy when you're talking about these sharpening notches. So again, sharpen a notch makes it easier to sharpen the blade all the way back to the heel and prevent damage to your ricasso on a traditional folder, your kick, your bolster, and your handle. So when you're talking about when you get into modern folders, you still have this choil. You see it right there. But oftentimes these plunge grinds are receding. So a plunge grind would normally be straight at a 90-degree angle, and you see it's receding back towards your handle right here. And in my opinion, that really causes some problems. Makers do it for aesthetics. It looks like it follows the line of the knife, and that's really cool looking, but it also causes some problems. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you still have the problems uh, with this sharpening notch right here, preventing damage to your handle. You can see right there, it's really, really close right here. So if you had taken that blade all the way down to the to to the plunge line, look how close to the your handle it is. And so that's why I say a sharpening choil uh, also secondarily prevents damage to your knife. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But I just wanted to show you it's a little different on a modern folder than it is on a traditional knife. All right, so this is something that's been on knives for a long time. This is a gravity knife right here. It's made in France. You can see it just flops around, and you use this little tab right here to open the knife. But on this knife, which would date back to the late 1700s, you can just see it in there, a little tiny choil. And I'm going to zoom in there. See it? Now you can see it really good. You see that little tiny choil in there. If I stick my fingernail in there, the edge hits my fingernail. Little tiny choil. And that's what I see on knives traditionally is these choils were really small, but here you have one on a really old knife. This knife here is 16 blades. It was appraised by an antique dealer who put the date at 1820s, somewhere around there. Pretty old knife, but if you look, every one of these blades have a sharpening choil. Again, you can just barely see it. And so sharpening choils traditionally were really small. And a lot of times, if you just pop the knife open, you can't see them. You can see the sharpen right next to the ricasso. You can see that sharpening choil right there. Even though there's wear on the blade, this knife dates to the 1830s, late 1830s. Right here, see the choil right there, sharpening notch, and boom. This one from the 1870s. Again, you have a sharpening choil on it right there. You can see it, no problem. On this knife here, which dates to around the same period, 1860s, 1870s, could be 1880s. There's a little tiny choil there. Hard to see, okay, but if you look at the other blades, it's very easy to see. They have a sharpening choil there. This knife is a lockback, 1890s, and there's a sharpening choil right there. You can put your nail right in it. This is an American knife, Southern Company, Southern Cutlery Company. Kind of rare knife coming out of Connecticut, and you can see right there, there's a sharpening choil. All right, so show you one more. This is American Shear, 1890s and 1920, and there is the sharpening choil on this knife. So again, I'll show you on the little blade. You can see them easier. There's a sharpening choil. So throughout the 20th century, you're going to find them on traditional knives. Okay, there's one right there, GEC, and it's an established part of making a knife blade. So if that is true, then what is the controversy all about? Why do people now are saying you don't need a choil on a knife? And that stems from evolution of knife making. So things change, and these traditional knives, whether they're new like this GEC or older, um, are made from 300-year-old technology. New knives like these modern folders have taken over, and most people use modern folders, and a lot of the people that use these modern folders never used anything other than this modern folder. And so some guys want to use the backside of the end of um, their edge all the way back to the plunge grind, this right here. So remember I said this is recessed. It's not a real good idea, and I don't like them. But this is a recessed plunge grind. It comes back towards your handle material. And they want to use all of this. And here's the problem in a nutshell. If you take some cordage and you go all the way to the back, you can see it gets caught in that sharpening tool, and that is a problem right there, guys. So it's not only cordage. If this could happen with cardboard, it can happen with webbing, all kinds of different things. Now on this knife, it just pops over. But another thing about this is a lot of times when this pops over, it'll go above the blade like that. And so you're just losing contact with your blade if you force it over. And if you want to use the full length of your edge, then it's a problem. And not every knife is made with the sharpening tool. This is a cold steel right here. It has a recessed plunge grind, and you can see right there is no sharpening tool. And also, you'll notice the blade is not sharpened all the way back to the plunge grind, but You could sharpen it if you wanted to take out that material, but you definitely could use that full uh, edge all the way up to the heel. The heel is that back portion right there, the end of your edge. And so that's the controversy. And so guys who want to use that whole edge of the blade don't see the purpose of these sharpening tools. I told you I don't have a dog in this fight, and honestly, I was watching. What really spurred me to do this? I was watching Justified EDC's video on why you shouldn't have a sharpening tool on a knife. Really good video, and go ahead and check out Andrew's channel, Justified EDC. I put a link in the description to his video. It's well thought out, well done, and he's got a really good channel too for EDC stuff, knife stuff. So you ought to check him out. But that got me to thinking about this. You look on this knife right here, it's an American made Piranha, and you can see there's no sharp sharpening choil there. And this is kind of a different plunge grind here. The plunge grind progresses. So normally if you were at 90 degrees, the edge would just drop down, and here it's going forward on the knife. Let me get it in focus. It's going forward on the knife, and so that's a progressive plunge grind right there is what I call that. Okay, so that's the controversy, right? You have the pros and the cons. The pros, hey, it's easier to sharpen a knife. So this is not disputable, right? So it is easier to sharpen all the way to the heel of the knife if you have a sharpening tool. Check out this link in the description. It's John Grissom. If you never heard of John Grismo knives, I think he's Canadian actually, and they produce very high end custom made knives. And since their inception in 2007, they never put sharpening tools on. Well, they finally decided to do it, and that video shows where they're saying, they like it because as a producer, as a manufacturer of knives, it's easier to sharpen the edge of the knife with a sharpening tool. And so there's that. Okay, so where does that leave us? All right. All right. I think on modern folders, you can probably leave out a sharpening choil if you have a 90-degree plunge on it. I see problems when your plunge comes back, is recessed and comes back towards the handle. You can see there's just not a lot of room on this area right here, the ricasso. That is right next to your handle material. Now, is that going to destroy the knife? No, but it'll grow up your handle material when you're sharpening it. If the blade came all the way back here, it would mess up this area right here. And in some cases, I didn't even realize this until I started researching this for the video, but if you look at this Benchmade, the handle actually protrudes over the plunge grind. You see that? And so if this edge came all the way back to here and you started sharpening this knife, you would be hitting the edge of your handle right there. So even in modern folders, yes, I think it matters whether you have a sharpening choil or not. And maybe that's why Benchmade put it in there, because not all their knives have a sharpening choil, by the way. Here's another one. This is a Spyderco. You can see it has that recessed plunge. On this knife, it really doesn't matter because you have the serrated edge. So you would sharpen this by a round sharpening, diamond sharpening thing. So you're not going to dig into this. But if this edge came all the way back, and I'm showing you a picture right now, a Spyderco's and where the edge comes all the way back, that would cause a problem here. You see how close this is to the handle of the knife. Now, in the picture I'm showing you, that's a 90-degree plunge grind on those knives, and so that's not the same issue. With the 90-degree plunge line, it creates, a good bit of ricotta there, so you're not going to hit your edge. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you right now. All right, so this is that cold steel, no sharpening choil, and if you go down to create your edge right there, this is as far as I can bring this over right here. And what is happening on the other side of this knife is I'm hitting the stop pin or thumb stud, whatever you want to call it. But it hits right there. That's as far as you can go over, so you can't even go all the way over to the end. And if you start trying to sharpen this knife all the way to the end, you're going to be hitting this thumb stud and screwing it up, screwing it up. And let me give you another example of that. Okay, on this piranha that does not have a plunge grind, when you come all the way over to sharpen to the end, the heel of your edge, you see that I can't go over any farther. That is hitting the ricosso right there, and that's a problem because as you come up, you can't help but damage your ricosso right there. You're gonna gur that all up. And one of the things you'll see in Andrew's video um, on his knives, he shows damage on his knives. He doesn't care, and that's okay. A knife is a tool, and if you're going to work it hard, they all get damaged. You look at these knives here; they're damaged, they're worn out, and that's because somebody's hard used them. And that's what we do with our knives. We hard use them, and sometimes they get damaged. But if you look at the same situation with the knife that has a knife sharpening choil, you see how it's off from this edge right here. And that's what we're talking about, making sharpening easier. You can sharpen all the way to the back of the heel, and you're not getting in any trouble with your blade, your handle, or your thumb stud, or whatever the case may be there, or the flipper. So that's why I think it kind of matters. You can see examples I showed where it didn't matter, like on this cold steel, you got a good set off on it. You have a good set off on it. It really didn't matter, but in other knives, it does. So if you look at fixed blades, historically, I'm showing you a picture now of a Bowie knife that dates pre 1840. It's got a sharpening choil, but a lot of them don't. Honestly, when you look at Bowies, they don't have them. I don't know whether they've been worn out or not, but this is one from 1890, and it doesn't have a sharpening choil. But what you do have is a 90-degree plunge on it in a large ricosso area, and so you're not going to there's no danger of you getting into hurting your knife or the handle material or anything like that. There's plenty of room there. And you'll see knives that are all girded up here from sharpening that don't have sharpening choils. On a knife like this, it doesn't have a sharpening choil, but notice how the blade is way down off your knife. The edge of your knife is way down off your knife. And so even if you were sharpening this all the way up, you're only going to get into a little part of your bolster there, and you're well away from the handle material, and you're not going to damage it. Same here. This is a copy of an 1860 knife, a belt knife, and again, it doesn't have a sharpening choil, but you notice how the edge is way down past your the line of your handle. So you'd have to wear away quite a bit of knife just to even get to the bolster area on the knife there. This is a 50s or 60s German-made knife. No choil, but again, you have a large ricosso that separates your handle from the area. When you look at this Benchmade, relatively new, you'll notice that it has that recess and plunge on it, and that brings that edge of the knife back to the handle, and that's problematic. So if you look at where that is and where the handle on this is, if there was no sharpening choil, that would be a problem. You would be damaging the handle on your knife. And as you see, Bench may put a sharpening choil there. So, where does that take us? I don't see any problem in not having a sharpening choil on a knife if you don't want to have one. But I think if you have those recessive grinds that come back towards your handle material, then that could be a problem for you. You could easily be sharpening into your handle material and damaging it. So if you're going to go with the no grind, look for knives that have a 90-degree plunge grind on them, like the ones I showed you in the picture, the Spydercos. That's the way I would go. And if you want to get a modern folder that has one, I think that's fine too. That's a personal preference. I don't think that's going to cause you any problems. I can never remember uh, catching the sharpening choil. When I go to cut something like this, I don't take it all the way to the back. I use the belly of my knife, and I cut from there. And so I've never recall catching anything up on my sharpening choil at all. Like some guys, but if you're that guy who wants to use all of your knife, you know, yeah, it could be a problem. You see, it'll tuck right in there, and so that could be a problem. And I understand that. I just think I'd be hesitant not to have uh, a sharpening tool on a knife that has these recessive plunge grinds. I think that creates a whole different set of problems in the knife, and it's purely aesthetic. That's why knife manufacturers do it. But anyhow, I hope you found it informative. I hope it kind of highlighted the pros and the cons of sharpening choil, kind of answered the history of them for you, and whether you actually need them or not. I think on a traditional folder, you can't afford to be grinding up your kick area right there. That's the main issue on on um, on a traditional folder. On a modern folder, it matters a little less. I still think you can damage your knife if under certain circumstances. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and check out Justified EDC's channel. I really enjoy it. I like it, and hope you all have a great day.